We're going to start with probably the most common situation, which is I'm playing a seated butterfly guard. I've got a kneeling opponent attempting to pass my guard. I win a hand fighting exchange that gains me this grip. And for this, we've covered the 1.0 arm drag, and we've covered the 2.0 arm drag. It doesn't really matter which one you use. They're both going to get you to the same angle. We'll cover the follow-ups and the finishes to get to the back for both. So in the case of the 1.0 arm drag, I've punched relatively to the center. I've caught my partner's tricep and I've pulled past them, and I've gotten to a dominant angle, maintaining pressure on my partner's triceps. Let's rotate around a little bit. The important detail here, once I shift my partner's weight forward, is I'm basically taking their butt away from their heels. And if I don't replace that space or occupy it, my partner will be able to settle their weight back down and potentially interfere. Now, if I'm sloppy, he'll but even if he doesn't get back into any kind of position to attack me, taking his back from here is going to be a bit of a problem. So when I get that forward shift, I'm immediately going to replace the empty space with my shin and my knee. So I've created a frame that'll prevent my partner from getting their butt back to the mat. This is going to allow me to shift their center of gravity forward constantly as necessary by kneeing them in the butt. And my hand that was on the wrist is coming around, and it can shoot into the hip. It can cup the hip. It kind of depends on the reach of your arm. If you're able to shoot your hand through, great. If you're able to just cup the hip, that's totally fine. I've basically put my partner's hips in a box so that they're no longer able to retreat back to their heels with their butt. This affords me the opportunity to attack the back. If my partner were to stay spread out like this, which a lot of people will, they'll post their hands and they'll stay like this, I should be able to simply post on the mat and climb onto the back. That's when life is easy. Don't expect that to occur too often. Let's rotate this way. Usually here we're gonna get somebody going back to more of a turtle. So Stephan's gonna go to his elbows, and try to shell up to make it a little bit more difficult for me so I can't just jump on his back. If I tried to jump on Stephan's back now, he would just shake me off the top. That wouldn't be super functional. The space that I'm maintaining with my knee and my shin, I'm now going to insert my right hook into that space. So my right leg is between Stephan's legs, and I'm taking my right foot over top of Stephan's calf and ankle. This is allowing me access to externally rotate his hip and tilt him. So when I get to this position, I'm going to use that control and this bump towards Stephan's top right corner. Let's rotate this way. I'm going to use this extension of my leg and pulling on his hip at the same time to bring him towards me so that I can now insert my second hook and put my seatbelt into place.
Yeah, you're just crumbling that support.
Yeah, what I'm doing is, I'll get you to post this foot for me. What I'm doing is extending and turning and just using a lever to externally rotate your hip and twist you down.
Conveniently right into
the back control. As I do this, I need to be scooting my hip back a little bit. One other thing I should mention here, depending on the level of flexibility and the length of your partner's legs, this may not be enough. The alternate method here is to twist our partner back this way. So there are two lever mechanics, an external and internal rotation of the hip that we'll be utilizing. I can use my blocking knee, so I'll have you put your knee down here, Stephan. I can use my blocking knee, try to get this to happen, feel like I'm not able to twist somebody enough, and then step on my partner's heel and put my left leg back here. Now I can start to draw his heel back. And if I stay here, my hip's directly under his, there's a chance that he'll go to the other side and end up here. Not great for me. So, as I draw, let's rotate a little bit more this way. As I draw Stephan's heel in this direction, internally rotating his hip, I'm immediately gonna scoot my hips back and land him in place as I set up my seatbelt. So assuming that somebody stays in a static position, that's how I'm going to pursue the arm drag to the back.
So I'm in a static position on my hands, you pop on your hand.
Immediately jump the back, that's pretty easy. If you're receding more into a turtle, I'm gonna try to either externally rotate your hip to break you down or internally rotate your hip to break you down. And once you're on your hip, then I start trying to actually get your back. Like I don't really want to jump on you when you're in a turtle because that's when you're most mobile.
Yeah, if the turtle's my go-to position, I'm probably pretty good at defending it.
Exactly. Now, one other thing we should mention here is when we get into this position, you will also often find people are trying to sit to their hip. So when we get to here, if he knows he's in trouble, he's going to be trying to sit this way and just play guard. There are two potential outcomes there. I can just come up on top, or I can still chase the back. So when we get here, if I feel my partner dropping his hip and I can jump my knee past. Now, see here how I landed on my foot? This is what I would not want because this stops my rotation and Stephan will roll under me and get his guard going. My goal in this scenario is to jump over him. So I get to here, my goal is to jump over him and keep my foot tucked to my butt. So now as Stephan drops, my shin becomes a wedge underneath of him that allows me to roll him all the way over again and set my back attack. So if you sit quickly enough, it's a moot point, right? Like if I arm drag you, and as soon as you recognize it, you're okay, fine, good enough. Like I'll just settle for top position. But that's a scenario where you have such a hair trigger reaction.
Probably wanted to pull guard anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Damn it, he pulled guard first.
But I've rolled with guys, like really good guys who are just experienced enough to know that this happened. They're like, fuck, I'm beat. They don't even try fighting anymore. They just sit to their butt instantly. Like if you arm drag me, that's what I would do. I would just sit to my butt immediately. I don't want to fight, try to fight you off of my back, potentially give that up. I just want to sit down and play guard.
So if I go to my stable position, then go, screw this, I'm going to put you in guard.
That's more when I'm going to try to still take your back.
Can we do that one more time then, please?
So if we get here, and then I feel up, and in the process, I've put my left leg underneath of your hip. I've already hit my seatbelt at this point, or my motorcycle grip, or my double motorcycle grip, and then the momentum will carry us through and allow me to set my hooks at the end. So that's like, if you see back taking, especially at the high level, that's a very common thing to have happen. We call it a barrel roll. We're just rolling through it as long as my shin gets underneath of your hip. So it's really important. Again, I mentioned it, when you kind of do this slowly, when you step up, the tendency is to do that. And as soon as I do that, I block myself. I create a pretty big opening, and your hip will start to lower, and you'll rotate underneath me, and whatever. Like there are different possibilities that occur there. So when I feel, or when I'm trying to chase you, and I feel your hip coming down, I just try to tuck my knee to my elbow. This is where having my hand against your hip here is super helpful. I just tuck my knee to my elbow. And then you roll, and I've set a wedge underneath you, and I've got your back.
Very nice.
So that's all I got for the arm drag to the back against the kneeling opponent.